Hello, everyone. So in this video, I'm super excited to share with you a few things that I think every young person or anyone who might be considering a job or a position, employment, basically, with oil and gas industry, especially in Canada. So before you sign that dotted line, if you already have an offer or you're considering interviews and other things with the oil and gas sector, let's talk about it a little more before jumping ahead. Lot to unpack, so let's get going. There are a few things that I want to share with you when it comes to employment with potential employment with oil and gas industry, especially the context or the background is Canada. The oil and gas industry, even though Canada or US or Saudi or what have you, is not going to change the things that I'm going to talk about. But because I have personally worked in this industry for 13 on years in Canada, I think I can talk about from the perspective of first-hand knowledge and experience. So the first thing that I want to tell you is the conclusion. And then I'm going to give you the reasoning behind that conclusion. So the conclusion is, if you are a new grad, about to graduate, thinking about an employment with oil and gas industry, don't do it. I repeat, don't get in oil and gas industry. It's the biggest mistake you can ever make. Okay, so let me give you the reasons. Now that the air is already out and clean, so let's talk about it. And so the first reason that I'm going to give you is that oil and gas industry as a whole is shrinking. The writing is on the wall. At one point in our lifetime, very soon, the industry that we know it today will not exist in the same way and shape and form that we know it today. So because it's a shrinking pie, number one, you will not have reliable employment. Meaning, if you are thinking that I'm going to start a job, I want to work here for my career, that's not going to happen. Within your lifetime, most likely, if you're a new grad right now, today in 2023, within 5 to 10 years, you will see unemployment in most situations. Okay. Number two, not that oil and gas industry companies will not exist. That's not the reason, though. I'll talk about that, why the unemployment might show up at your doorstep. So there are a few things that's behind that. Number one is the industry, because it's a cyclical commodity business, the industry has gone through some significant pain. Talk about COVID or before COVID. And as a result, the industry is shifting towards a model where they can do majority of the work from offshore, where the workforce is much cheaper. So you might have heard about this, like high value centers. So it might be in India, it might be somewhere China, it might be somewhere else, I don't know. But the main point that I would like to share is that people might think that, okay, when we might not be able to absorb all the work that we have, and that's where it actually started to ship it somewhere else, and then the work was done somewhere else. But right now, because of the cyclical nature of the business, because of some of the significant pain points the industry went through, they focused on how can we cut cost as much as possible, so that even though oil companies are making record profits in 2022 and things like that, you must be hearing that for some time, they want to make sure even when the price goes down, we can still make money, which understandably so. But that means as an employee in Canada, you will not have reliable employment over the long term. So that's one. Now let's move to the next point. Shrinking pie or shrinking industry, writing is on the wall, the industry is on life support, meaning your opportunity as a young person to move up the ladder and grow up to someone responsible, more authority, is very small. Now, you don't even have job reliability. Forget about moving up in the food chain. That's non-existent. We already have a very big pool of candidates that people can choose from. So it is almost impossible for you to actually move up in the food chain and do something and be that person. And not to mention, as I mentioned before, that For you to become the CEO is almost not. You can become your own CEO, but maybe not for an oil company. So again, there are many people who are very ambitious, very smart, very intelligent, and you should be in those type of authority positions. And I don't think oil and gas industry will give you that satisfactory outcome at the end of the day. So shrinking pie, shrinking opportunity, very much impossible to move up in the food chain. The third reason I'm going to tell you is interesting as well, that not many people think about it, is even though we may see that companies are making good profits, one of the things that you should take note of is that companies are investing to buy back its stock, which is nothing wrong and which is not uncommon when companies make record profits. Any industry, tech, oil and gas, food, retail, you name it, they all go out and buy stock because it allows them to increase the share price, the demand goes up, and obviously that the executives who are behind the scene makes the most bonuses as a result. So that is understandable. That's why they buy back stocks. What is also important to note is that there are not many opportunity in front of those executives to invest the money in the industry. And that is the reason why when they make lots of money, they go out and buy back stocks because that's a very short-term, near-term focus. So think from that angle, is that how much money they are actually investing? Almost non-existent, very small. The investment is happening only for sustaining projects. There are only so many projects happening because of environmental pressure, whether that's a greenhouse gas emission reduction and so on and so forth. So there's only so many things you can actually do. The number 3 reason, that's why I want to share with you, is that the work, because it's so routine, so kind of boring, you will end up with a skill set that you will grow. Let's say you may think that, hey, you know what, I get your point, Farouk. I'm going to work for here. I'm going to work maybe for the first 5 years. What will end up happening is that your skill set that you're developing will not be used to anyone else. Now, you may think, hey, you know what, pump is a pump, motor is a motor. There's so many people who moved on to mining or other industry, and so blah, blah, blah. Possible. But think about it from this angle. The people who have moved are really good, really, really good. That's why they were able to move. And they were able to sell. But the opportunity space to sell that transferable skill will also shrink day by day. So for you to work for 5 years and work on some funny things that no one else cares about outside of oil and gas and move out and then do those things outside will be very limited. So what I'm trying to get at, your employability will be very limited because you worked in the oil and gas industry. So, okay, so the next thing I will talk about is what everybody knows about oil and gas industry. You will be connected, related, associated with something that comes with significant negative connotation. Why would you want to do that? You will be responsible for, like, 20 years from now, when you look back in your rear view mirror, you will say, okay, I was part of an industry that everybody blames, rightly or wrongly, and I will mention why it is a little bit misguided, misleading for greenhouse gas emissions, significant environmental disasters, global warming, and so on and so forth. The reason it's a little bit misleading and oil and gas industry gets the most blame, it's very unfortunate, is that every industry, if you and me walk on Earth and I'm wearing something, we are destroying the planet. That's the bottom line. We use plastic, we use this, we use that, everything, even mining. When you have to recover any product for mining, let's say for your battery that you built, it actually comes from the Earth, and we all responsible for global warming. Now, some industry might be a little more, some industry might be a little less, but it does not mean that if you are eating, agricultural industry produces lots of greenhouse gas as well. Every industry is responsible for greenhouse gas emissions and global warming. So I'm not saying that that oil industry doesn't do that. I think oil industry is responsible for a significant portion of global warming and the greenhouse gas emissions every year, but it gets the most attention, what I'm trying to point out. So why would you be trying to get yourself associated with something that has so much negativity associated with it? So, okay, so in summary, those 5 things, if you remember, number 1, shrinking industry on life support, job is not reliable. That's number 1. Number 2, your ability to move up in the food chain is very limited because obviously shrinking pie. Number 3, what was number 3? Number 3 was your job opportunity that you will get, the job that you will do, is not transferable. The skills that you will actually develop will become very difficult to sell to some other people, some other company, some other organization. So it becomes very difficult for you to remain employed and employable outside of oil and gas industry once you spend some time here. The other thing that I pointed out is that the negative connotation that comes with oil and gas industry. So I don't think I mentioned 5, but 4 reasons why you should not. For a new grad, even if you are working, if you are listening to this video or watching this video and you are working in oil and gas industry, and maybe you have less than 5 years, maybe less than 10 years, think now, get out now. That would be my message to all of you. I wish you good luck, and drop a line on the comment section, and I'd be happy to, or at least try my very best to respond back to you. Now, this is not to say that oil and gas industry is no good or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is that I'm like just looking at very selfishly, which you should also be doing as an employee, because at the end of the day, you are just a number. Nobody really cares about you. Let me be very frank about that. Okay, you are just a number. You come and go. If the price goes down to a certain point, for example, when COVID happened, every single industry, including oil and gas industry, got rid of people. Like, even though we have all kinds of good thinkings, ESG, this and that, nobody really cares about you. So be mindful of that. So what you should be focusing on, am I going to have a job when things go really wrong? And even though as human beings, we don't think about that, we tend to believe good things will happen more often than the bad things. Bad things do happen. And when that happens, you are just a number. You will be shown the door with no remorse from your company. So good luck with your job search. Don't get into oil and gas industry, and we'll see you soon.